not by any means a measure. Yes, a diet can affect your blood sugar, particularly the type of chemical structure that your food sources may have. But that's a small part of it, a very small part of it.
Have you tried all the diets, or are you confused with what it is that you need to do to get into the body you want? As the truth is, the mainstream media advice for you losing weight, it's wrong. And especially if you're like me and so many of the other members, you've counted the calories, you've cut your carbs, you've done the hard workouts, and you haven't seen the results that you've wanted to. And that's why Justin Maguire comes onto the show with us today to unveil his world-class coaching system and the steps that you can take to be able to start seeing the body change that you want. Hey, it's Chris Dufay and you're watching Breaking Success. This is the show and this is the movement that is the backstage pass for you to be able to build the body, the business and the life that you love. Now, there are two main reasons why you're not in the body shape or the health that you want as of today. Number one, you're just not following through with the plan, or number two, you're actually not following the right plan. And we're going to go into how to break those two so you know exactly what it is that you need to be doing from today. In today's episode with Justin, we uncover why Justin uses fasting blood sugar measurements each morning to change your diet and your training. Why heart rate variability is an important tool when being able to actually create a meal plan and training programs. What his top 11 supplements are and how you can use them from today, and what the one factor is that we all need to be able to have so we can have the body health and the results that we want. You're going to be able to take a lot away from today's episode, so I'm really looking forward to hearing from you after it.
The word gamma, when it comes to gamma neuron activity, is actually neutral neuron activity. Neutral neuron activity is probably the most optimal scenario that one can have toward maximal neuromuscular proprioception, but not just neuromuscular proprioception, complete neurological awareness. So the balance between both hemispheres of the brain would be in a better equilibrium, if you want to put it that word, with higher concentration of gamma activity. So not too excited, not too dull and depressed, but it's kind of like calm and happy in the middle, which is why balance. That's why I chose to call the project the Gamma Project, because it's about creating a education toward balance.
I love that. Okay, now this is really good. Why did you create this? As in, what did you see from everything you've done? Do you know what I mean? Because we've talked about in our previous episodes, the vast majority of the things that you've been able to do, which you have an incredible experience and expertise, and that's obviously why we're talking about now. Plus, you're a really nice guy and I like you. But why did this come about? How did you actually sit down, cultivate, this is the Gamma Project, this is how it's going to run?
Okay, so we all know about the economics principle of the fitness industry and of the world, right? The harder you push, the better the outcome's supposed to be. And we know how flawed that is. I think you met up with this concept, what was it, 5 or 8 years ago now, Chris?
Too many years. Five, I think 5.
Distant memory rather not to recall.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly. So I tried so many different protocols that I learned from so many influential people in the industry, which taught me a lot about certain segments of the human body, or nutrition, or training, programming, so on and so forth. And the one consistent flaw that I noticed was the fact that everything was generally derived behind a general populace.
Nice, yeah.
And it wasn't bespoke. All right. So everything, if you think about like the mainstay diets out there, now the ketogenic diet is big in rage again, which it was 10 years ago. Before that, you had the paleo diets, and then you had your Atkins diets, and you have your zone diets that, what's her name from Free? Jennifer Aniston. There's a big advocate of the zone diet. But you had all these extremes advocating a result. You know, this is the way, you got to do it this way, and this is the only way of getting the result that you want to get. But in reality, it doesn't crack the cake. It definitely doesn't. You got to make sure to change things up daily. You can't have, like, programming is fantastic. If you have an athlete and you have a controlled environment where the athlete is going into oxygen chambers, they're having massage treatments, they have a diet that's literally so specific down to the smallest nutrient available and also the source of that diet, then maybe you can follow a periodized program. When I say periodized program, I'm talking about micro and macro progressions. But even in these instances, athletes pick up the bacteria. They may pick up a viral infection. That causes them to overtrain in a scenario where they may not have overtrained if they hadn't had that environmental influence.
Yes.
So the big determining factor is environment. And there's no consistency behind, especially in the modern day world, our environment. From looking at you now on the computer screen, the amount of blue light coming into my pituitary causes a massive disruption to the neurotransmitters in my brain. If you're going to sit down and study, particularly if you could be utilizing a virtual interface, that's going to cause a huge disarray between the left and the right hemispheres of your brain, causing dissociation to your balance. So these little factors, they aren't taken into account when we think about the general aspect of exercise programming or when it comes to nutrition and diet. So we think, okay, we want to get to X goal. In order to get to X goal, we need to have a period of accumulation, and then a period of intensification, then back to accumulation again, a little bit of remedial training every once in a while, and then we'll hit that goal. But how many people, what's the percentage of success rate in the global population behind actually implementing these protocols? Don't get me wrong, I have implemented many a protocol of similar nature, and I have got success from some of the clients. But a lot of the clients that I tried to implement these protocols with didn't get anywhere. They were simply overtrained. They were just aware of their body. They couldn't engage active control of motion, active control of their balance. It's not just about being able to move a weight. It's about understanding what that weight is doing to your body. And the only way you can have that understanding is through calm focus, not anticipation or anxious anticipation. So a clear example of this is if you look at a powerlifting meet, and I have a load of respect for powerlifters, but generally speaking, the percentage of populace that engage in powerlifting, after 10 years, they drop off quite a lot. You don't have them have a high participation rate after 10 years. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't older powerlifters out there. There are a huge array of them, but I'm also saying those that are generally older have encouraged more methodic programming, not necessarily stuck to a template of periodization. So they've known when to back off to implement other strategies toward their goal rather than just following 5 by 5.
Okay, brilliant. I want to jump in there, Justin, because this is absolute gold. I'm so happy we're already diving into this because what this really comes down to is individualization. But the problem is, do you know what I mean? There are so many, like, here's your diet, and often away you go. And that's a perfect thing. We have different environments right now. Do you know what I mean? We have life. Like, let's just say, for example, tonight, I could have a really crappy sleep because my 2 daughters are awake during the night. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe something happens and I do have to work during the night and I'm not able to switch off, do you know what I mean, before 5 p.m. All these things mean that a diet or a training program that is pre-written isn't going to be the best thing for you to do moving forward. And why I want to talk to you about something that I think is what you're doing with your clients in the Gamma Project, marvelous. I want to deep dive into this. Is you're getting their blood sugar readings and their HRV readings each and every day moving forward to this. So let's just dive off. Why are you taking blood sugar to start off with?
So most people understand blood sugar to be a point of concern to diet, right?
Yeah.
Most people think about blood sugar and they think about diet, which is not wrong, not by any means a measure. Yes, a diet can affect your blood sugar, particularly the type of chemical structure that your food sources may have, but that's a small part of it, a very small part of it. Now, blood sugar, so there's 2 things that manage and monitor our biology. 2 major things, amongst many others, but 2 major things. Do you know what those are, Chris? What would you think if I had to ask you, what were the 2 things in your book and the highest priority that manage life?
Sleep and stress.
When it comes to sleep and stress, which is kind of in line with what blood sugar does. But we're talking about blood sugar itself, and we're talking about nutrition, and we're talking about the hormonal factors that arise from the intake of all this. There's 2 main variables, water and sugar.
Yeah. I was going too deep. Right? Yes, 100%.
Sugar provides energy for our cells, for our brain. Water provides conductivity for synapses or electric current to create an orchestrated response of afferent or efferent signaling pathways. So if we have too much water, what happens if you have electrical charge and you have the right density of protons and neutrons, which water is neutral in its chemical makeup, and you put a charge into that water, it will become highly conductive dependent on the volume of that charge. But if you take that same charge and you put it into a dam of water, the whole dam is not going to become electrically positive, right? It's not going to become positively charged. You may have segments of it, but the rest of the dam won't. And that's inflammation. Too much water, too much concentration of extracellular fluid is not going to allow the synapses to be able to fire the right type of sequence of contraction or relaxation, which is more important to actually consider. Because I think most people are overly tonic rather than underly activated, especially in the modern day world. Underly activated, I just made a word up. Underly activated.
You can do that here. That's all good. You made it sound really good.
I know, but you always try to change the language because we use things like facilitated and inhibited. People look at you like, what the hell's going on? You know? A lot of anything, sunlight and fresh air and water and a little bit of sugar from my diet. But that's the thing, is like if you have too much inflammation, too much sugar, which is positive, it makes the blood more acid as opposed to more alkaline. Too many protons aren't going to increase the possibility of an additional proton charge.
Yes. Okay. No, I like where this is going. So if somebody, let's say, for instance, I'm going to do this tomorrow morning. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to take my blood sugars. I've got my glucometer somewhere around here. I don't know where it is. I'm going to take my blood sugars tomorrow morning. I'm going to send it to you. Now, if it's high, if it's low, if it's good or it's bad, let's talk about numbers and where it should be and what we do. Do you know what I mean? Let's say if it's high, first, maybe if you can help me define what is high, and then what do we do if it is?
Okay, this is very important you ask that question. So you have your standards, right? Everyone says, so between, not everyone, sorry, the community, the medical community would say anything on the fasting level between 4.2 and 4.8 would be optimal. All right, and then anything between 4.8 and 5.8, it's not terrible, but it's not that great. And anything about 5.8 is something to consider, all right, as being a bit of a health risk, which is fine. And they're taking the general population once again into control. I don't do that though, because I've got diabetics at home. I have people with immune reactions to certain types of foods, or may have Crohn's disease or IBS or a multitude of other metabolic syndromes. Now, if I were to case their study on the norm, not given into account what their actual variables are, then what baseline do I work with? I'm not working with their baseline, am I? So before anyone starts the Gamut project, they have to do 4 days of data capture. And the reason for those 4 days is I want to develop a baseline of what happens to their sugar given a controlled program, which I give them, which is basically a German body composition program coupled with a metabolic conditioning program. So it's a high lactate program for the objective of finding out how they tolerate stress, all right? Now, I want to see how they tolerate stress. I want to see how their blood sugar is a response toward that stress control. And I give them the 5 habits of good eating from John Broad, which is one of my go-to guys for nutrition. He's always been fantastic with his research. If anybody wants to do further education, or want to start further education, it's a great place to start and to build up on. Fantastic guy. So I'll utilize his 5 habits. Nothing too extreme. Not necessarily completely overhauling the calories and telling them not to have this and not to have that. Because a lot of the time when you do that to any person, being a fitness professional or a client, they may do it for 3 days and then fall right off that wagon, because the wagon is just too hard to stabilize, to be honest. So I do the readings, and then I get a baseline. So I take those 4 variables and I get like an average. And then that's their average I work with. Now, when they get to that average point, I would give them a diet that would be in line with what they're trying to achieve. So whatever the goal might be hypertrophy, might be fat loss, it might be strength gain. And depending on what the goal is, the factor to the calorie objective may be increased or decreased. Now that's for the more bespoke clientele. The clientele that aren't hassled by counting calories, counting macros. But for the general pop, I don't even start there. I just give them a diet plan based on what the best possible outcome will be to their homeostasis or their circadian rhythm. So sometimes, and this is where I go against the grain. because a lot of people would give a high-fat, low-carb diet to someone with excessive blood glucose. Now, there are instances where I would do that. If I see that the underlying symptoms of bacterial imbalance, for example, then I would exclude glucose to stop the proliferation of unwanted bacterial cells, and we'd do like a cleanse to help him with that. And if that cleanse doesn't work, I'll send him to a biochemist to basically go through an antibiotic course to get rid of the bacteria. But there's a one step to next step to next step. You don't go straight into atomic warfare if you don't have to.
Okay.
Right. So we just systematically build it. And this is another thing with supplementation. Instead of throwing 10 supplements at a client, you know, my clients buy 10 supplements as part of their plan, but they use 3 or 4 a day. And the supplements they use won't be the same supplements every day around. The supplements will be specific to how they're going to metabolize their food and also set balance to their biology. So the baseline will tell me whether or not I give them what I call a circadian rhythm diet, which you probably know is carb backloading. If there isn't an instance of bacterial overgrowth or symptoms of a bacterial overgrowth, and they have an elevated amount of blood sugar in the morning, I actually give them a diet of carbs and less fat. Good source of carbohydrates.
And
you know why?
Yeah, no, I was going to ask why.
So if you look at studies, because everything comes down to the brain, right? The brain controls the peripheral nervous system. So if your central nervous system is going into a state of complete anxiety, depression, or aggression, and you are going to amplify your sensitivity to catecholamines, which is what you do when you follow a high-fat, low-carb diet. That's why it's so good for fat burning. You're just going to impair sleep. You're going to impair digestion. You're going to impair a whole multitude of biological processes. Now, if you look into studies where they have treated people with psychiatric disorders, people with severe depression, schizophrenia, whatever it might be, they don't give these patients diets high in protein or high in saturated fat. They actually give these patients a diet high in fibrous, nutrient-dense carbohydrate. Why? Because as we know, insulin and glucose, keeping at a good base point, the insulin at a good base point, is inversely related to cortisol. So if someone has elevated blood sugar in the morning, what does it tell me? Well, it could tell me that they had a load of food that made their immune system react the night before for dinner. That's definitely a probable cause. But if they are following a diet plan that I've given them, not a diet plan, should we say a nutritional strategy, because it's not a diet plan. There's no such thing as a diet plan. That word is just absolutely archaic. So they're following a nutritional plan, and they send me a picture of the meals, which I get the guys to do that aren't necessarily as involved in the fitness process. I get them to send me pictures of the food. And I say to them, okay, take this out next time, try this, try that, add this ingredient, add that ingredient. Trying to get a balance for them and let them educate them by visual means, not just on paper. I'll say, that's great. When you hear turmeric is fantastic for you, but you see the word turmeric, you have no idea what the taste, consistency, or the color is of it. And then someone actually sees that for the first time, like you and I, we're acquainted with this, right? But can you imagine somebody that's been drinking coffee all day long, eating sandwiches and Krispy Kreme donuts for the last 10 years? They see the side of turmeric. God, they're not going to follow it. So you got to advise them. Say, I want you to add some turmeric with some blueberries, whatever, or some lemon. Just help alkalize the body or provide more phytonutrients for the brain. Then all of a sudden, they show you this drink. They'll say, oh, it's ugly. Oh, look, this and that. But at least you know that they're actually drinking it. They're actually participating in it. And they know what it is, what it's like. And once they drink it, they actually are pleasantly surprised. It's not as bad as they thought. So then you change the subconscious element to the thought of food and the colors of food. All right. So
that's important. Sorry for jumping in, but I think this is super important, especially for the coaches that are tuning in with us, because it's not about what's on a piece of paper. And that's what I've really started to butt heads with is so many coaches out there are just trying to deal with the very vast majority of the populace like they're a bodybuilder or a physique athlete. And it simply doesn't work. They're a different animal. In many cases, a different animal on like an actual like physiological sense, but then on actually a psychological sense as well. They don't operate that way.
No, thankfully, because I think most people
want to be nuts.
But it's extreme. Like, don't get me wrong, I have a lot of respect, but it is the extreme of the psychology end of the
Yes.
Unfortunately, yeah, the visual impact goes a long way, goes a hell of a long way. But yeah, so the strategy will be dependent on, see, my main focus on the Gamma project is to get the brain as calm and focused as possible so that it can orchestrate a strategy for better endocrine health, better movement, and also just better enthusiasm to do the things that they haven't been doing. So biggest determining factor, I think, to success isn't necessarily the design of a training program or the outline of the dietary strategy or the amazing amount of supplementation someone might be using or the amazing amount of drugs other buyers might be using, hoping they're going to get an effect from it. It's the accountability. It's the conversation. Now, most people are too afraid to take that leap of faith and put themselves out there to have a conversation with somebody else that's caring, not judgmental, but just wants the right outcomes for that person or the right kind of results. I've gone through my fair share of life change over the last year. Made a lot of good decisions, a lot of bad decisions. But the way in which you can come out of anything negative is by enforcing positive outcomes and a positive environment and positive people. And positive doesn't mean jumping around, clapping your hands and singing Kumbaya. Positive, on the other hand, is really just being real. Being honest and okay to be, and allowing yourself okay to be honest, but also seeing the strategies that you can take in order to have a better outcome. And this is like some of my clients are high-end bankers, and some of them are also in the legal departments. And these guys work crazy hours under a lot of stress. And at times I go out, and in the past, or sometimes even now, sporadically, they may go out on the lash. And this is their way of detaching from their reality, which can sometimes be so overwhelming. Now, instead of saying, oh, if you drink, you're not going to get the result you want, don't drink. If you really want it, you'll give up everything. This is another thing is about social media or virtual media, is that I think often more than not, we actually deter people from making these changes because we're all about the all or nothing. And life's not about that. Life's not like that. It really isn't. I mean, sure, if you have an objective to create an accomplishment, to compete or whatever, fine. But most people just want to be a little bit healthier. Most people don't want to step on stage with an 8-pack and veins popping out everywhere. And for those people, if you're going to try and change them to the point where they feel guilty about everything that they do, yeah, sure, even if you do get the result, what's the long-term effect?
Yeah.
What kind of psychological influence are you going to have on their long-term health? And what's more like if you're bombarded with a lot of negative points of focus or reminders from people that may have said, oh, if you eat that, this is going to happen. Or if you drink this, this is going to happen. You should feel bad about doing this. You should feel bad. You should really feel bad. You're a bad person. Feel bad, feel bad, feel bad. What's the likelihood that you'll do those things over and over again?
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. It's like, it doesn't make logical sense, but that's how human nature works. And it's studied time and time again. You take prisoners and you put them into a situation where you actually educate them towards a skill and you empower them to be able to develop craftsmanship or engineering feats or learn a subject, new language. They become empowered, and then their focus is shifted away from the things that brought them to prison in the first place. And that is what this is about. It's not about coming down with a rod and saying, oh, if you do this, it's terrible. It's about making them aware. Like a client sent to me the other day, he said, I'm finding it really hard to cut out the sugar, although he has berries and fruit and stuff. It's not when you say sugar, he's talking about refined sugar. Yeah. So I'm not one of those Nazis that say, no sugar, if you have fruit, you can eat fat. Crazy, absolutely bonkers. Fruit's really good for you, actually. But you're saying, oh, I'm finding it really hard to cut out the sugar and all the coffee and alcohol. Because, he's in the fashion industry. They drink 1 or 2 glasses of wine a night. They'll have a little pastry or a little creme brulee or whatever. And you know how these dinners go. That's just the world they live in. Yeah. Now he's cut that out. And he sent me a picture of, so I opted for this best possible scenario. So he sent me a picture of some bacon with a poached egg, on 2 little scones. Not scones, what are they? It's like a pancake. It looks like a small pancake.
Like a crepe?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Sorry.
More culture than a tub of yogurt. All right, yeah, good.
Chris, what have you been eating lately?
I would love some pancakes right now.
Oh, dude, I tell you what, I haven't had a pancake in such a long time. I had a waffle the other day, though.
Ooh.
Really good waffle. Yeah, I think I slept for about 3 hours afterward.
We'll get back to that.
Yes, it was good. But yeah, he sent me this picture, and he's like, "Oh, this is what I cheated." So I said, but he didn't mention in his little text section of the WhatsApp message. He said, "I had this, but he forgot to mention the crepe." So he listed every other ingredient.
Magically disappeared.
I was in the back, and I didn't say crepe. I said pancake because I thought I like pancakes, right? I'm like, so, and what about the pancakes? Smiley face, question mark, right? He's like, oh, we had like so he had acknowledgement from it, but it was lighthearted.
Yeah.
I didn't come down to him and say, okay, if you keep on eating crepes, you're going to be a piece of shit.
Yes.
At all. There's balance to everything. And secondly, you know what? He's made such a good shift away from drinking alcohol every night to eating pastries and desserts. And now, he's had 2 little crepes with a source of actually good protein, good fats. Sure. Is it that much better of a trade-off? If it happens every day, maybe I'll say to him, okay, let's try something else. Yeah. Obviously, your cravings are overwhelming you. Let's try something else to try and keep them at bay. But it happened once in the last 2 weeks since he's been on the project once. So you don't come down to him. Because I didn't come down to him, he will send me other pictures, other food meal plans that he put together that may not necessarily be in line with what I want for him.
Yeah.
But I'm not here to judge. I'm here to keep him accountable.
Yeah.
But keeping someone accountable doesn't mean making someone feel bad. I think a lot of coaches...
It's a very important part, because the part of coaching is being able to help somebody go on their journey, not berate them if they get something wrong, because it's only going to actually take them down the wrong path. And I love how we've been able to actually enter this conversation right now, because I feel like, 1, so many coaches are just doing it incorrectly, but also 2, so many people are feeling bad and not getting the results because they're getting steered in the wrong direction.
And the thing is, when you feel bad, you never get results. Doesn't matter how people
exactly. Okay, I tell you what, let's talk about the HRV, because this is something I've only recently started delving into. I'm wearing the Aura ring at the moment, so this is something I'm starting to track as well, day in, day out. For somebody that doesn't know what HRV is, do you want to dive into it and put that into a nice, quick nutshell? And then why do we start to look at this?
Okay, so heart rate variability measures the difference of the cadence between the heartbeats. So if you were to look at an ECG scan, you would notice that a healthy heart rate would have different fluctuations of peak points. Whereas someone that goes into, someone that goes into cardiac arrest, like I'm about to with these dogs going crazy in the background, would have a very similar cadence. Like beep, there's not difference in cadence, or a horrible tone, definitely horrible tone. Yeah. So it basically measures the difference between the cadence of the heartbeats, and the more variable the cadence is, the better the influence between the brain and the cardiovascular system, which tells us a lot about how the nervous system is responding to our physiology. So it's one measurable tool that we can utilize to see what the potential is for muscle contraction on that day. It's not the only tool, because there are other underlying factors like localized overactivity or hypertonicity of muscle tissue may not be picked up on an HRV. As an example, it's more of a global understanding. And in those instances, strategy needs to be taking place via communication. But we utilize HRV and fasting glucose together to get a whole picture, a complete picture on how the stress is going throughout the body, how one's the endocrine system is functioning towards managing that stress, and what the outcome is through poor management, if there is any poor management to that stress by way of elevated glucose. And you can notice that by, for example, a training program may have given a client may have had too much volume, which I'm human. I am going, and the only best way that I can find the best possible scenario is through trial and error. I don't have the answer. And I always say that to my clients, I don't have the answer. I have a formula with variables, and those variables will change over time, getting you the more precise plan for your body. But as your body will change, so will the variables need to change. And sometimes, for the most part, I have it right, But at 1 time out of 10, it might be wrong. And in that instance, they may train to have too much volume. The next day it shows up. And I know because of that, the volume will be decreased next time around. So the volume of blood sugar concentration.
Yep.
And inflammation, and cytokine release, and everything else that happens during muscle breakdown. And then heart rate variability just also basically compounds that, also letting you know how stressed the body is as well. But more importantly, it also lets you know of things like if you were well enough rested. Because your blood sugar may say you're fine, but you didn't sleep very well the night before. And when you do your heart rate variability, your blood sugar comes out, say, 4.5. Perfect.
Yeah.
Your heart rate variability comes out poor. Like, you should not. But you feel fantastic, right? It's like, and I had clients come to me and say, I feel great today. I want to really push it hard. But the heart rate variability was not on point at all.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the reason why I feel great is if you have a lot of catecholamines being released into the system, and the outcome would be endorphins will also be released.
Yes. Yes.
Before it. Increased levels of dopamine, right? So the vigor to go for it. But that doesn't necessarily mean you should. Because that's just a false psychological perception of where your body is in that space and time. And I'm sure you've held this before all these technological advancements that we had available to us. You know, I've had days where I feel great. And I get into that training session, and after the second set, I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Literally did that yesterday. I did that yesterday. I was like, yeah, I feel really good. And then I had to train fasted, and it was like way into the day because we had a really long drive. And I was like, no, you know what? I still feel really good. It was the crappiest workout I've done in a very long time. Like I went in there and at the end, I was just like, oh, I totally got that wrong.
Your brain doesn't want to feel down, right? Your brain doesn't, like if you get depressed, it's generally because you've been under so much stress for such a long period of time that eventually your brain doesn't know what to do, hasn't got a coping mechanism, so you feel down. But before that, it releases endorphins, right? It releases happy hormones, and there'll be an abundance of dopamine release as well to try and combat the discomfort that you're currently going through, like sitting in a car for hours and listening to 2 kids going crazy in the back.
Yeah.
Right? It's just an example, you know, so all these things are have to be taken into account with heart rate variability as well. And that's what's nice thing about HRV is just it gives you a clear, defined, objective analysis, letting you know whether or not you can do that extra C, D, or E group in the hypertrophy program, or whether you should go for a triple or stick to the 5x5.
Yeah.
You know, so this gives you that idea of what parameters to change within the programming, what volumes to put in there, what intensity, all the factors that we normally utilize for strength and conditioning are still embedded in the general synopsis of any plan that I create for any client. But the variables within that synopsis and the program may change. So the volume of sets, the volume of exercise groups, the type of exercise. And that's very important to remember. Like if HRV isn't on its optimal level, you must remember IML, which is the receptors that govern your balance control around the rib cage as well as around the spine, might be in sync with your hemispheres of your brain. You might have an over recruitment on one side of the rib cage, which is causing you to pull down to the hip. Now, do you want to put a bar on someone's back in that state?
Yeah.
And make them just, what's it like if you're going to compress one side of the vertebra more than the other?
Yeah.
What's the compensation pattern going to happen with the rotational torque occurring more dominant to the one side than the other? And then the subsequent effect to the knees, the shoulders, the neck, and everything else. I just wrote an article actually for a local magazine called Muscle Evolution. It's a bodybuilding magazine, and it's actually just on that. It's called Torque, the Internal Capacity to Generate Power. And it covers this a little bit more in detail. Not too gross in detail, because I want to obviously make it for the general public, but enough detail for you to consider, you know what, maybe it's not a good day to do squats.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a bit unilateral movements or remedial movements, like, for example, landmines. Like, when last did you do landmines?
Yeah.
I'll absolutely love landmines because becoming more mobile, I realized the balance that I have from one side to the other became better by incorporating remedial movements that are rotational in effect, rather than just sagittal.
Yeah, one plane. Okay, now this is really good. Now, you also brought up before supplements. I want to dive into this and obviously how you as a coach are being able to take the information of somebody and then say, all right, this is, say, on a broad strokes, maybe this is what we're going to look at, but then going deeper, this is what you're going to need maybe in a more specific situation.
I'm going to quickly pull up this document here for you. This is these supplements are the general supplements. I'll quickly show you here as well. That I ask for my clients to purchase, and they're general supplements, and they're specific. They're not groups of supplements that you'd find like most commercial bodybuilding brands or anything like that.
Yep.
You there, Chris?
Yeah, all good.
All right. So the supplement list there are 11 supplements in this list, and these are the 11 staple supplements that I utilize to incorporate, unless there are other underlying symptoms that I might change this list. So, for example, a client that has increased levels of toxicity through xenoestrogens might have a different supplementation inclusion. But for the most part, I work with blood sugar and heart rate variability and the nervous system. Because even if someone were to have excessive amounts of xenobiotics in the system, if you get the circulation better by reducing inflammation through blood sugar management, and you get stress levels better and adrenal management back on point, you will notice an improved liver detoxification capacity. You will notice less inflammation to the joints, less issues with your thyroid. So all these other protocols, they have their warrant, and they are utilized when needed. But for the most part, I just stick to the very basic core. And these are the supplements that I recommend. So RALA for carbohydrate metabolism, or sensitivity for membrane health toward carbohydrate metabolism. I use a probiotic supplement called Vivo Mix. It's a medical grade probiotic for use for Crohn's patients or IBS patients. The reason why I use this is I find that out of all the probiotics that I've used in the past, very few of them are actually stored in a fridge.
Yeah.
Now, you could try and sell me. Like, I've had a lot of people have an argument with me about, oh no, this one is great, and this it does this and does that. But I'm trying it with myself and my clients. It doesn't work. Yeah. It doesn't work. The only ones that generally work are those that have to be stored in a fridge to keep the bacteria alive at time of consumption. Otherwise, in my opinion, you're just buying sawdust. Yeah. So VivaMix is the one I use. In America, they have a version called VSL3. And it won't be used every day. Definitely not. Like I said, we utilize it when it's required, when symptoms come up. But for the most part, most people beginning out would need a probiotic because, let's face it, their gut is not necessarily in the best state, given the ample amount of stress and poor hydration that they've encouraged within their bodies. Then the next supplement is Methyl-Guard by Thor Nutrition for everything from homocysteine reduction to dopamine production to serotonin function to protein contamination. We all require methyl donors, and the right type of B vitamins will give you the right type of effect. So especially with protein transamination, pyridoxine is extremely important for that. And protein transamination is important for everything from muscle contraction to detoxification to antioxidant production, endogenous antioxidant production. So it's vital. And also don't forget, P5P is one of the major B vitamins required for serotonin production as well. Magnesium citrate. I do like magnesium L-threonate. I just find it sometimes it's more difficult for people to get a hold of. It has a higher availability, but citrate has a more global effect on different parts of the body. So threonate is great for the brain, but I find citrate to be also very effective for the brain as well as muscle tension. Ashwagandha, amazing. It doesn't necessarily suppress, it's not necessarily, it is a cortisol modulator. I'm not going to take that away from it, but it's more of an energy promoter, an optimal energy promoter. So, which is what cortisol should be doing in the first place. Instead of it as being as dominant of a cortisol suppressor, which is not what a modulator does in any case, it just helps you to optimize the abundance of ATP that you're producing for an outcome of energy turnover. Right, so that's what it helps. This helps better ATP production. Holy basil, however, I find to be a far more powerful cortisol modulator, but not as powerful as an energy promoter. So I utilize both of them together, and the synergy between the two is fantastic. Acetyl-L-carnitine for acetylcholine production, which is important for everything from cardiovascular health to potential for muscle activity and contraction. Tyrosine we utilize for dopamine production, glycine for glucose disposal, as well as liver detoxification by way of production of glutathione. As well, one thing about glycine is really cool. It actually shuttles more chloride into the neurons when they become overly excited or hyperpolarized. So when tissue, if you're going through a bout of anxiety, or you sat behind the computer for hours and then you just feel yourself being a little bit disassociated with reality, glycine goes a long way at just reestablishing neuron balance. Bitter melon, glucose disposal, probably the best glucose disposal agent I've used out of them all. Lion's mane is also really good. I also had a relatively good result with that. But I find this bitter melon is just the way to go. It really, really is the way to go for it. There's a shiliat is another mushroom superfood that also helps for those who can't handle bitter melon when it comes to their digestive issues. And I hope I'm not pronouncing that right, but it's spelled really strange.
Yeah.
And then omega-3, EPA, DHA. So there's 11 products, and they're all pretty much, apart from the methyl guard, they're all single agents. So
Yes.
I don't like prescribing products that have multiple agents in them. The only time I would do that is actually, I'm releasing my own product soon, in a month's time. And it's a detoxification product. I'm still thinking about the name for the product. I don't know. But it's got all the good stuff in it. It's got moringa extract, so the fruit extract, the fulvic acid as well, so we give it a little bit of a good taste to it. Got all your B vitamins, bioactive B vitamins, not just your cobalamin, your methylcobalamin, your 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate, pyridoxine 5-phosphate, calcium D-glucarate. It's got sulforaphane. Then we've actually added another 2 surprise antioxidant compounds in the mix, which I won't give away that secret.
Good.
But the outcome of their inclusion to the product has actually amplified to the clients I'm helping here now, because we trialed with them. There's their reduction of their hamstring skin fold by 40% more.
Whoa.
So we're just using good calcium D and sulforaphane together. They weren't using them with it. They were using sulforaphane and cal D together. They had a good reduction. Then they went into this product, and there was a 40% increase, which is actually a lot more. If you think about it, once you lose certain body fat, to lose more after, it's quite a lot harder anyway.
Yeah.
But even so, they've lost 40% more in terms of the millimeters total for the second measurement.
Yeah.
So it's a great product. But that's the only time that I would actually ever specify the use of a compound product that has, or like a greens drink, like a superfood greens drink. That's also another good time to utilize a comprehensive product. But like, for example, if you look at pre-workouts, oh my God, like what are you doing to your brain?
Yeah.
It's just so much stimulation.
Do you also find a problem with so many of the products that just kind of throw everything in there, is you don't know what's actually working? And actually it's funny because I wrote a post today that I'm going to be publishing tomorrow, and it was kind of like the scary things when we started to go into the supplement world, seeing what so many of the companies were doing. They would throw everything into a product, into a formulation. One, the actual active ingredients in there aren't at a level for it to do any good anyway, so it's not even hitting them out. And then 2, the actual ingredients are such poor from sources, and the manufacturing quality is so low. Sawdust is a pretty good comparison.
And even if the product does give you an effect, some of them can do. It's like electricity is great for lighting up your house, but it's not so good if you're shocking yourself with it, is it?
Yes, very well said.
It's like if you put so many stimulants in a product, it's going to have an effect.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it's good for your brain or your body. It really doesn't. And like a lot of them, I won't name any labels and stuff because I don't want to get into trouble. Yeah. But a lot of big commercial companies out there that have been around for probably 2 decades now. If you look at what they put in there, it's amino acids with a shitload of caffeine. And I bet you right now, that probably 20% of those amino acids aren't even in there.
Yeah.
They've actually, independently tested to be true more than one occasion. So in essence, you're probably getting a lot of sodium and a lot of caffeine.
Yeah. And you can buy a bottle of caffeine tablets for $10 and have, do you know what I mean, 4 to 6 months worth ready to rock and roll anyway, and you just save yourself a lot of money.
Yeah, and just add some salt to your water.
Yeah.
You go.
Sure.
How to hyperpolarize your neurons for excessive activity.
Okay,
Which is always a good.
this is really good. So we've got a nice list of supplements. Now, and I don't want to put answers into your mouth. One, do your clients, obviously your clients are coming to you because they want exceptional results. Do you say, this is the list that we're going to be starting with? Is there a shorter list? If someone's right now that's tuned in and go, okay, I want doing the top, I want the foundational, whatever it is there a shorter list you'd say, you know what, this is something I'd love people to start with and then we can always progress? Where do you sit with that?
Yeah, of course. So when people come to like a lot of, so I have 2 of my clients at the moment, they don't want to use any supplements at all, right? So then what we start with is just like a food source that have high density, have a high density of phytonutrients or other subsequent vitamins and minerals that will aid the process which we were trying to work toward. I always I'm not against supplementation. I know the use and the benefit of utilizing certain nutrients, which is the reason why I use those specific nutrients and not abundance of thousands of others.
Yeah.
But like you want very rarely would I prescribe a huge amount of creatine, for example.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary. And things like I love arginine, I love citrulline, but they're not necessary.
Yeah.
They're not necessary for a person to get healthy. They might be necessary for optimal muscle growth if you're at a certain level, but they're not always necessary. But if someone doesn't want to use something, that's fine. I work with a person. I don't work with my program. Yeah. I give the best advice with what I designed the program around, but then an individual comes along and then that program becomes their own, because at the end of the day, I'm not here to service myself. I'm here to service the client. And we have vegans. So we're helping myself. And there's another guy I work along with. There's 3 trainers I actually work along with, and they have not all, so they have 2 to 4 of their clients on the Gamut project.
Yep.
And it works really well for them because I'll talk more about the actual progression for the Gamut project, which these guys and myself are working toward. And this makes logical sense. But anyway, this one guy I'm working with, his name's Lawrence Fontaine. He owns Salus in London. Yep. Really top quality guy. Good trainer. He's really enthusiastic about the process behind his clients. If anybody's near Fontainebleau area in the northern part of, North London area, just a Angel section around up there. Definitely hook him up. There's Salus, S-A-L-U-S. Good guy. Anyway, he's got 2 guys we're working with at the moment. They're both vegan. All right. Thank God my mother's a vegan because she helps with the dietary selection. Because all I know is chia seeds and avocado make for good complete protein. I mean, it's not I don't pretend to be a vegan expert because I'm not.
Yeah.
Really. But I go through the effort. If a client comes and you want to get a result, I know what type of ratio of macros one needs to have and the quality and the source of the macros that it should have. So it should be organic source. It shouldn't have additives or preservatives. It shouldn't be refined. But generally, everything else around that, it's about reading. Opportunity to learn. Fantastic. Yeah. And much as my clients know that this is not an avocation, it's an education. It's not only education for them, it's for me too. Every day, I learn more and more about the human body because of my clients' participation. And that's what's amazing about it. It's an education, which is fantastic. So it's not about shoveling things down someone's throat, saying you have to do this, otherwise you're not going to get there. It's like saying, look, this is what I recommend because the outcome will be X, Y, and Z. You can either try it or not. That's fine. I'm still going to work with you, and we're still going to get a good result regardless. The result might be more pronounced with that, or it might not be. I don't know. All I'm saying is from my experience of working in the industry for the last 17 years now, since I was 14 working in the gym. Wow. Can you believe that?
Wow.
My first training weights for a bunch of arrogant trainers that used to leave the leg loaded with half a ton at a time. I hate them so much, but I used to love it. I love being in the gym. It's just realizing, where that balance needs to come in. And it's not about, like I say, it's not about forcing something down to the person's throat. It's about understanding what the best scenario could be.
So you said before something really important. You said progression. Help people understand why they need progression and how they need progression.
Oh, Chris, now you put me on the spot.
This will probably lead us into what we're going to have to do in the next episode anyway, but I think it would be a really good kind of snapshot into, all right, what do we take away from today's episode? We've covered really good things: blood sugar, HRV, behaviors, water intake. How do we actually start capturing data? Do you know what I mean? Stuff. Okay, we've covered brilliant stuff. There's so much more I want to be able to pull out of that beautiful head of yours. But progression, do you know what I mean? If somebody's tuned in with us today and they've go, okay, I know I need to be able to change a few things. This is fantastic. What does the journey look like?
Okay. First and foremost, data capture. Everybody's unique. So we got to get an idea of what's happening in their blood sugar and what physiological responses are causing the outcome of that blood sugar response. Second to that would be heart rate variability as well. We measure that for 4 days. And we measure that for 4 days and toward an exposure of the controlled type of exercise program. A lot of people actually can't complete that exercise program because it's actually a lot of volume, but it's purposely made in that way because I want to induce the most amount of stress to get the greatest outcome or the greatest exposure to stress and see what the outcome is for the heart rate variability and the blood sugar.
Yeah.
So, but if they don't finish the program, it's fine. They just go to the point where they can't any longer. If they can finish it, great. I have some guys who can finish it, no problem, but a lot of them don't. But it's not a question of being there. It's only an hour program long, so it's no longer than an hour, but it's a lot of volume in the program. And once we got that, then we develop a synopsis based on their goal. So if someone wants fat loss, as an example, I'm not going to give them an isolated body part program that's more hypertrophy in nature. So it's not like we do a bicep program. It's like, I want to lose fat. Let's train your biceps.
Not a good
it might be in the program, but it's not going to be a biceps program. It would be more German body composition training or upper body, lower body split, combined with some metabolic conditioning, combined with some steady state cardio if it's warranted. It's not always warranted. And I don't just throw things. That's another thing. Like, why would you want to throw Metcon training into a program if a person doesn't need it? So, or high intensity interval training. So I got a guy named Paul Morin. He's doing flipping well. This dude is on it like money. It's just unbelievable. He's gone from 18.3 down to 11.8 in 6 weeks.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
You can see like his before and after is already looking sick. Yeah. So I can't outcome with it. He's getting ready for a photo shoot. Now, we got to a certain point now, so this is the final stretch. And in the last 2 weeks, I actually really reduced the amount of volume. Yeah. But the last 5 weeks, for these 3 weeks, like this is the first of the next 3 weeks. We're like hitting it 6 days a week. Rest is 20 seconds. Volume is 40 to 60 seconds per set. There's a huge amount of tension time in the workout, but very, very little weight, little intensity. And we'll do that for 3 weeks, which will increase the amount of catecholamine release, which will be modulated by the nutrition to optimize more fat loss. But his body was ready for that. I would never do that with someone's body that wasn't ready for it. But certain days, I get him to do high-intensity interval training in the morning, which is 3 minutes, 20 seconds long. Anything longer than that, you're not doing HIIT, in my opinion. It's not.
Yeah.
And then a couple of that, we do some steady state after it. But we only do that when the variables are perfect.
Yeah, well said.
Perfect. Which may be 3 days of the week. You know, and I'm not saying these variables are bad the other days, they're just not perfect. So knowing when to put things in gives a much greater outcome than just further stressing the body that's already stressed. Like if I were to give Paul, like there's another, just like you yesterday, feeling great, you want to train hard, bum, bum. There's been many days like, I'm going to kill it, I'm going to kill it. I'm like, Paul, do not do high intensity training. You're just going to cause yourself a detriment. And you listen, and he's like, shit, I actually felt tired in that day. Yeah, and then he was able to train consistently. He's got a new baby as well. She was born, I think, 4 weeks ago. So 2 weeks into his program, he had a new kid. And he still lost all the weight, right? Which is a huge testament to his determination. And his kids, obviously, as you know, newborns cry, they have colic, whatever it might be, the issue. And it was only been one occasion during this whole process where I had to give him a day off because of lack of sleep.
Wow, that's awesome.
He hasn't been stressed to need a beer. He hasn't been stressed to need a creme brulee, Cadbury's, to cope with the onslaught of literal audio drama, right? He's chill. He's cool for the most part. It's literally one day. I said to him, don't worry, dude. Listen, you're going to stretch today. I'm going to send him some pictures of stretches or yoga poses. Yoga, in my opinion, is stretching with intention.
Yeah.
We have to give things labels in this world, so yoga. And he's cool. And then the next day, he's right back on it. But it's just knowing what to do and how to do it. So that's a progression. Where to go from there? a synopsis change either monthly, weekly. Sometimes I can change it from every 3 weeks or every 3 months. I will change the synopsis when I can see there's a negative return from its design, or when I can see someone's positively adapted toward the current synopsis. I may increase the amount of muscle breakdown for hypertrophy program. So, for example, instead of giving them torso, legs, arms split, right? We might give them a quads, chest, biceps, shoulders, back, triceps, hamstrings type of split. Right? Split up. And then we'll give them even more of a split, And that's something also to remember. The more you split up and locally and isolate muscle breakdown to specific muscle, the shorter duration that program has to become. You cannot think to train your biceps for 40 minutes like you would do a torso, because it's insane. You're not going to get any unless you're on a hell of a lot of gear. And I mean like cow killing gear, right? Not cow growth.
I remember we did an arm session, you and I, in Spain, and it was like 15 minutes, and my arms were just like blown up. It was just like I couldn't even like flex them anymore. I was just like, I'm done. Like that's it. Do you know what I mean? It was brilliant.
This is intention. Like why? And if you keep to, it's a nice thing about what I also utilize in the Gamma project is you obviously know the app Tabata Timer Pro. Yeah. Fantastic app. So Tom Crudington, he's going to kill me for saying Crudington. I always say that's Crudington. Fantastic. Another fantastic coach for any aspiring new personal trainer out there wanting to learn more. I definitely go sign up for his courses. He taught me a lot. And one thing he always used to utilize was Tabata timer towards sets. So I took that idea of having a Tabata timer towards a set, and I kind of just flipped it around and towards different elements of rest variables to what he does. A little bit different elements, active to rest variable, but still the basis of it, the tempo control behind the active period, I learned from him, and it was so invaluable. So that you're precise in the workout time. So knowing that if you have 40 seconds attention and you have an outcome of hypertrophy, I'm talking about functional hypertrophy, your eccentric load should be 4 seconds. But if you have the outcome of sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, you may have 3-second negative. But that second difference creates a huge outcome to change to the physiology. So the difference between 8 and 10 reps in 40 seconds. Right? So you have it on the timer, and then your ratio between your active and your rest variable is precise. It's a 1 to 2, 2 to 1, 1 to 3, or whatever it might be. And the formulas that you can derive behind precision of time towards precision of diet, towards precision of total programming and exercise selection, this makes it for a foolproof product. When I say foolproof in terms of design, not always implementation. It doesn't always allow for that. But yeah, it really works well. That's a lot of time. It just makes a big difference. And that's why when you get into the gym and you have that timer on set in the background, you're following a tempo and the cadence of which you should do, you're in there 15 minutes. You've got massive arms. You know, my arms measure 51.5 centimeters at the moment. So I don't know what it is in inches or whatever, but that's a real measurement, 51. Like I'm not those guys in like the bodybuilding magazine saying 23-inch guns. You meet them in real life, like, dude, you haven't got 23-inch guns. Like it's impossible unless you're injecting Synthol. It's not going to happen. But I don't have to train. Like if I spend more time in the gym, it's not for the purpose of, like, I get my workout out, but it's just to socialize sometimes with some cool people. You know, or sometimes I just don't want to be there at all. So to get in and get out and do some meditation. So hey,
get on and actually enjoy your life. No, this has been so good, Justin. I've really enjoyed the breadth of what we've been able to cover. And I think this is actually really kind of teed us up perfectly to go into the next episode as well, that we need to be able to do, to go really deep into actually what the implementation and the actions are. To wrap this up into a nice, beautiful nutshell, because you are just an absolute fountain of wisdom, what would be a couple of things? It could be one thing, it could be multiple. What is it that you actually want the listener right now to do today and moving forward from here to make the most of being with us now?
Well, I think first thing is just to evaluate what your goals are and evaluate where you are in relation to accomplishing what you want for yourself. Is it realistic? And does your lifestyle allow you or permit you to be able to achieve what you want from your life, not just from your training, but from your life as a whole? So introspection, look into yourself, figure out where you are and whether or not you want to stay there or be somewhere else. And then along the way, the nice thing about being a part of a society is that you have people to help you. So, for me, my background and specialty is understanding the human body on a very good level. So if you need a bit of help behind getting your chemistry right, toward training harder, towards eating a little better, but not to the point of deprivation dieting, but rather to the point of fulfillment in every aspect, then email me, info@hulkenterprisesltd.com. We can get started and create a bit of a relationship and just communicate on another level. And that's the nice thing with the Gamma Project, it's daily communication.
Yeah.
So I don't weekly respond. It's every single day my guys are communicating with me. And because they have to send me their fasting glucose and heart rate variability every morning, they become self-aware first part of the day, which makes all the difference for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So just for those listeners out there that may be looking for a little bit of help, a little bit of direction, just figure out what are the obstacles that are currently in your way, and be honest with yourself, because sometimes it's hard to be honest with yourself if you have, built up a little bit of a reservation towards ego or whatever it might be that society puts within us.
Yeah.
But the more honest you can be with yourself, the more you realize, what, there's no harm, there's nothing to be ashamed about by getting a little bit of help.
No. If anything, we need it. We should be very open to it.
Whether it be a group, family,
Well said. Justin, this has been absolutely epic, mate. I'm going to make sure that I put the links to get over into your stuff below for everybody to be able to get onto.
It's so hot out here, Chris. As soon as you're done with this interview, I'm going to go jump in the pool right there.
Well, you're going to have to. I'm going to have to go jump in the beach that's across the road from me right now. So I'm looking forward to this. Brother, this has been epic.
Now, this is where I want to make sure that you get the most out of being here, and I want to hear from you. So if you've enjoyed this episode, click like, and to make sure I can send you the new episodes each and every week, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Also, I really want to make sure that I'm giving you exactly what you need. So comment below. I want to know what you're going to take away from this episode. And the best conversations after every episode always happen in the Breaking Success Tribe. I'll pop a link below for you to join the free group so you get access to the guides, the live streams. I'm in there answering your questions personally each and every day, plus you get all the episodes as well. So thank you so much for being here and joining us. I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the next episode.